Okay, so we have done the multiplication of monomials. So we're going now to multiply a polynomial by a monomial. Know the difference, okay? Well, first of all, let me give you the basic rule for this one. To find the product of a polynomial with more than one term, as we all know what's a polynomial and a monomial, we will use the distributive property. If you notice, the distributive property is popping up a lot, and so we need to know how the distributive property works. Say, for example, I tell you multiply 2x plus 4 by 5x. For example, we will do this by saying, now this is telling you to multiply this by this, so you're going to put now 5x open bracket, and I'm going to use this so as to differentiate 2x plus 4 close bracket or parentheses, right? So that's what we need to do. So by doing this, now we apply the distributive property, okay, and we put now 5x times 2x, well, that gives us 10x squared, and 5x times 4 because plus 20x. If you're wondering how I got this 2, recall the laws of multiplying indices. So let me put the law here. The rule says that if you have a base to a power times that base to a different power, we are to keep the base and simply add the powers. So what's the power of this x? Well, the power here is 1 and the power here is 1. So we say now 5 times 2 give us 10, and x times x give us x squared, or x 1 plus 1, and then we combine that term there. Okay, so we proceed now with the next step. So we don't really have a next step, so we finish right there. Sometimes you may need to go some further steps depending on how big is this bracket, or is there more than one bracket. So distributive property by multiplying 5x, then multiply the monomials 5x and 2x and 10x squared and 5x times 4. So we can work in that method. All right, so you could have break this down, these steps, as to say now, just in case if you want to break it down, let me just break it down again. So this is as if we were to say 5x times 2x, and we have seen problems of this form, plus 5x times 4. Notice, and then we continue and multiply it out, and we end up with the same solution. So but this is the solution here, not this one here. I'm just showing you this is what just transpired here by getting our answer. Okay, so this is the answer, not this bottom one. This is the midway step, or what we did just a while ago. Okay, so let me give a basic rule here. Multiplying polynomials by monomials. So to multiply a polynomial with more than one term by a monomial, multiply each term of the polynomial by the monomial and simplify. That's what we just did just now. To multiply a polynomial with more than one term, this is a polynomial with more than one term, by a monomial, which is this one here, multiply each term, which is this, of the polynomial by the monomial and simplifying, which we then combine. So that's what we need to do for these ones here. So let's do a few examples and see how we go about with that. Okay, so let's proceed. Examples now. A few more examples that we are going to be doing. So we have 3z squared open bracket 3z squared minus 5z. If I tell you multiply, if I were to tell you multiply, this is what you are going to do. So multiply each term which is inside of the polynomial by the monomial. All right, so we go and do that. So let me do step by step as how the description here follows. So put 3z squared, open bracket, 3z squared. This 3z squared is this one here, this 3z squared is this one. Then notice my term, my sign here. I'm going to put plus, and it's not because I want to, but because this value here is positive, so you put positive regardless of what is the sign. So keep the sign of this term. So you put plus 3z squared times negative 5z. Notice how it got distributed. Now, as the rule says, multiply each term. So we are going to multiply them now. So we end up now, 3 times 3 will give us 9. Z squared times z squared will give us z. 2 plus 2. I'm going to show you that also so that you can see that we're not skipping steps, just in case for the ones who did not understand. All right, then we put plus now, or we put negative, depending if you can see it right away. I'm going to put now 3 times negative 5, because that's a different sign, and z squared times z, which will be plus 1, because that's the power of the z, and that's 1, 2, 1, 1. So now the next step will be now 9z to the fourth. 3 times negative 5 will give me a negative 15, and we have z to the third power, and that's our solution. Okay, so that's how you're going to be working that particular problem there. So that's solution, nothing more. Notice that I showed all of the steps based on the description, but you may skip certain steps, but I would not encourage you that. If you work from here to here and your answer is correct and you did not show any steps, you get the full marks. If you work from here to here and your answer is wrong and there are no steps, you don't get any marks, because you may have done this step correctly, but when you reach here you may have done a mistake. That is okay. So but the concept is still there, what you need to have learned. So let's try our next one. Next example, negative 2 ab squared bracket 2a minus 3b plus 2 b squared. Okay, so now this we're going to apply the same thing, multiply each term which is inside of the polynomial by the monomial. So we do that. So we put negative 2ab squared times 2a, keep this sign here, negative 2ab squared times negative 3b, keep the sign here again, minus 2ab squared times 2b squared. Okay, write that down much better. Now we go a little bit farther now, so I'm going to expand this so you can see this much better. Now a negative times a negative times a positive will give us a negative. 2 times 2, 4. A to the first times a to the first will give us a 1 plus 1, and simply bring down the b. Now here this is not minus, this is still you will then have an addition, or you can keep it as minus. You can expand that even more. So a negative 2ab squared times a negative 3b, a negative times a negative will give us a positive, and 2 times 3 will give us 6. A to the first, b squared plus 1b, and the negative times a positive will give us a negative 4, and then we end up with a, and put here b squared plus b, which is the plus 2, I mean. So now we bring down the next step, negative 4a squared b squared, okay, plus 6ab third minus 4ab fourth. Okay, and that will be our solution for that particular problem there. So let's look at the problem much closer. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see everything, all of the steps there. So that's our steps for that particular problem there. Okay, so nothing complicated there. Now I'm going to take on a decimal problem, and so we're going to see how that works. Let me go there, a decimal problem. We have 2.1b squared minus 3b times open bracket 0.1b cube. Okay, let me do the one with the little symbol this way, and that's b. The rule will not change. We are multiplying this term by this and this term by this. So we're going to start with this times this. So regardless if the monomial is at the right hand side or at the front, it's still the same thing. So we end up now by saying 2.1b squared times 0.1b cubed negative, you can put here plus just in case if you get things mixed up, because you're going to add that term, plus negative 3b times 0.1b cubed. Okay, so now I'm going to say now 2.1 times 0.1 will now give us 0.2. I put b squared plus 3. Why 2 plus 3? Because the laws of indices says that when you have the same base, you keep the base and add their powers. So we have a plus now. A negative times a positive will give us a negative. So we end up now with a negative 0.3. We end up b to the first plus 3, and then that gives us 0.2 b to the fifth minus 0.3 b to the fourth, and that's our solution for that particular problem there. Okay, so just remember, the first thing you need to do is to multiply multiply each term by the monomial. Okay, so if I give you the problem this way, you could rewrite it by putting this term at the end. Okay, so it's just rearranging it. It's up to you how you want to write it, but you will get back the same answer.